I understand your point, but when I heard that, I thought of that, but I also thought of there's something that I think happens perhaps often, who knows how small a percentage with Black women, where we are seen as the mother, right? Seen as the provider, the nurturer, and all of that. And that's wonderful and beautiful and soft. And you want to protect that, right? Like, especially if you're the dad in that position, right? But then you want her to be the nastiest person in the bedroom. And it's almost like, oh, wait a minute. That nuance sometimes isn't accepted, especially with all the other facets, right? Like Tony was like, oh, she does all this stuff. And I'm thinking, I ain't doing enough. But so many women are doing all of these things. And then we are so diverse that sometimes I think just watching that, there becomes this resentment. I remember the ex-husband was very upset when I made a comment. I don't know how old, maybe let's say my son was less than a year old. And I said, "Ooh, I don't think I could dress sexy anymore." Right? Like in my mind, because I have this boy child. And he was like, "What? Like, what about me?" So I was like, "What about you? You've already experienced the sexy. Like, let it go, dude." So I'm kind of wondering how everybody feels about that, because men don't really have that same difference in dynamic, I don't think. There's the provider umbrella goes over protect the wife, protect the family, protect the kids, but there isn't that same nuance that happens with women.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying completely. It's like that. Can we be Instagram models and moms too? Like, can we be out here naked on Instagram and be mamas? Because we're placing such a box that we're placing such a box that where if we're out here, you know, showing everything. I have been called out for it numerous times. I'm a mother of 3, and sometimes I take photographs, and everybody don't like the photographs that I take. So I get inboxes. You shouldn't be out here showing all of these things. So I'm like, if I go to the beach and wear a bathing suit, what's the difference between me taking photographs in a studio and me going to the beach and showing these same pictures? You know, we're so caught up in what's right and what's wrong that we don't even take time out to realize that maybe we're doing this because we need to feel beautiful. We want to feel beautiful. We want these compliments. We want this because we have had children. We are mothers. We are wives, but we also like attention. I'm not saying everybody is like that, but Aisha Curry said it best. We want to know that somebody else out there is looking, is interested in what we got going on. That's all we're saying. Are we going to cheat? Not necessarily, but we like to know that there's attention out there for us. We want to feel beautiful. So that's all I'm saying. Go ahead. I'll turn it back over to whoever wants to talk.
So there's this thing that Freud came up with, and I don't know how true it is, but it does bring merit. It does hold merit in this conversation. And it's called, and we talked about this the other night, Derek, on Clubhouse, I think. It's called the Madonna-Whore Complex. You learn about it in psychology. And the concept basically is that for men, we see 2 women. And someone said it in the comments. We compartmentalize women into 2 categories: the Madonna, which is, you know, the representative of the clean and untouched and, you know, pure, and then of course the whore. And the idea is that we want to marry the Madonna. That's who we seek out for marriage. But then we also want her to miraculously become, you know, a whore in the streets, right? Or, excuse me, in the sheets, rather. So, not taking into consideration that, you know,
her, Tony.
Huh?
You pimping her.
No, exactly. Well, not whore as in, you know, exchange. Her sexual behavior is very, and he uses the term whore, but I think that what he means by that is she's very sexually expressive and free and all this other stuff. And I think for some men, you know, it's very dichotomous. Number one, because, you know, most of the things that I do in the bedroom are things that I've learned, you know, in the bedroom, right? So to this idea that I need my woman to come in untouched, never had having any sexual experience, but yet be sexually expressive, so much so that she's, you know, hanging from the chandeliers, to me is kind of ridiculous, right? And I wonder, you know, my theory is we blame our parents, we blame, you know, slavery, which I definitely think is a source. But I think at some point, and I'm going to say it's probably around the late 80s, early 90s, we found out as a society that it is profitable to disrespect Black women publicly.